Mi nombre es Orlando Ramírez y yo soy orgullosamente ateo. My name is Orlando Ramirez. I'm 25 years old. Family came from Mexico a few years before I was born. They're from Zacatecas and Nayarit. Grew up very Catholic. I was baptized, taken to First Communions and all that. My upbringing, was very close to the Catholic and Lutheran Church later in life. I first started becoming more atheist a few years after my dad had passed away. I had a bit of a dispute with another church, saying that, because we followed the incorrect denomination of Christianity, that my dad wasn't going to go to heaven. So that kind of sparked my curiosity as to like, why would somebody say something like that when, we're supposed to be very accepting. So I did some more research on my own, read the Bible on my own, looked up some YouTube channels comparing the Bible to other religious texts. And that's kind of how I sort of started to realize that there was a lot of similarities, that Christianity wasn't unique, that a lot of other ancient religions, modern religions are written very similarly to Christianity. And from there, I kind of just started studying a little bit of everything, but I no longer had any interest in worshiping any sort of God. It was mostly just for my own personal interest. And from there, I did look into more like atheist groups and kind of realized that I did agree more with that set of beliefs rather than believing in a, Christian deity. Coming out to my family was pretty interesting. My mom, to this day, she still hasn't really accepted the fact that I am atheist. So many traditions that we have in our family are based off of religion. So I still like participating in them with my family because it is more of a family thing for me. But for my mom, I guess it's just kind of hard for her to think that, her son doesn't really want to worship God anymore. Most of my extended family also very religious. Some of them are Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm pretty sure if they found out that I was atheist, they probably would stop talking to me altogether. With my brother-in-law's family, they found out I was atheist, and surprisingly, they were very accepting of that. They are also very religious, obviously. They were more interested in asking me questions about why I became atheist and, in general, like, what do I believe and why do I believe what I believe. They didn't challenge any of my beliefs. They just asked more questions and, accepted it. They thought it was good. So, yeah, I kind of hope people get more and more like that, just accepting other people's beliefs, no matter if you are atheist, Muslim, Catholic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really, shouldn't really come between us all. My name is Orlando Ramirez, and I rock with the underground.
There is no God. Then why are we whispering?
Stand by to receive our transmission. Logic clearly dictates.
If you're an atheist, scream atheist!
But what is an atheist?
An atheist is someone who doesn't quite believe that there is somebody out there, some God out there.
Well, then to me, you're an idiot.
From beautiful downtown in Philadelphia, in the state of apostasy, it's the Atheist Underground.
¿Quién quiere ser presidente de este puto país? Dime.
Arriving in Los Datos. Thank you for riding the Underground. This is Los Datos.
Sorry, I need to grab a mic. Have an open discussion.
Stop swearing.
Okay. And we're recording about whatever happens right now. We are in Los Datos, which is Spanish for the facts. Get it? Los Datos. Los Datos. Give her the mic. It's Los Datos. What do you have to say? Will we have a Mexican president soon?
No. No, definitely not.
Why not? ¿Por qué? Dinos.
I feel like, no, I don't think so, only because, and not that there shouldn't be or that there couldn't be, but I don't think that there will be because of what they would be following. Like, I feel like it's kind of the same as how like a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement is really against like black cops, you know, because it's like going against your people. I feel like being the president of a country who has historically been so against like allowing Mexicans to even indulge in actual American culture instead of just like working for them.
¿Quién quiere ser presidente de este puto país? Dime.
Was
That's
your question just
to
set up for your own joke, or?
No, I'm just saying that. Just an open discussion. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way.
No, because I think that there socially is a lot of stigma against that kind of thing, which I think that there should, and I can't really speak for the minority like that, but I know that there has been tons of backlash with people who, or at people who, and get themselves into a profession that is systematically like oppressing their own people.
What do you think about the topic, Mr. Jason? Is there going to be a Mexican president? Does anyone want it? And how can the secular movement use the highly Catholic Mexicans on our side to roust and oust the Republicans and the Christian right?
I don't think we'll have a Mexican-American president anytime soon. We'll think of when Kennedy was elected. It was like one of the whitest people ever, but people were like, oh, he's Catholic, he's just going to do whatever the Pope tells him to do. It's going to be the same thing. If a Mexican were to run for president, it would be, oh, now he's going to open the borders and we'll all have...
What's wrong with tortillas? What's wrong with eating tortillas every day?
There is no problem with eating tortillas every day, but I don't think you're going to get your Midwestern brethren to agree. I think we're too racist of a country for that currently. Maybe in the future.
Well, they can have tortillas.
Tortillas and quesadillas.
Think about that, Mr. Nick.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have an American-Mexican president anytime soon. Unfortunately, Trump and his regime, if you could call him that, tapped into...
Dog out of cereal.
Have tapped into the underlying racism of white America. And it's really an emotional-driven thing. And unfortunately, we have a president who drives that and magnifies it. I mean... So it's sad to see our great country come to a halt on what it was founded upon, which is culture and diversity.
All right, I think we are going to have a Mexican president. No problem. We can have a Yugoslavian president. We can have a Chinese president, as long as they have one common characteristic with Donald Trump, and that is they have a history of oppressing their own people. They are power-hungry despots, and they're going to fall in line with this wave of right-wing fascism sweeping the country. And you can be any kind of, denomination you want to be, as long as you fit those characteristics. So I think that is more important to the powers that be than anybody's particular ethnicity, is whether they're of that mindset. That's what I think.
Got a real Radio Lab feel going around here today. You got something to say over there, Melanie, with the mic? Just hogging the mic.
I'm just hogging the mic. I don't have anything smart to say.
I didn't ask if it was going to be smart.
I only know one sentence in Spanish, and it's not even useful. Mi gato es muy perezoso.
Paragraph?
Is there an appreciable atheist community, atheist Latin community? How do we dig them out? How do we find out where they go and talk to us about what's going on the border? I mean, this is Los Datos. We got Mexicans on TV in boxes.
And our government using the Bible to justify as well, which should be a violation of the Establishment Clause, because we don't run our government from the Ten Commandments. It's been proven over and over again, despite the attempt to try to change that perception. But yeah, is there a sizable contingent of Latinos in atheism? I think so. Is it harder for them to come forward? Certainly. It's cultural. They're extremely religious. That's where the Catholic Church is still making inroads in Central and South America, because there is a huge fervor of religiosity. And America's the only first world country that is so religious. The real the real passion for religion generally comes out of the third world. For some reason, poverty seems to breed religiosity, and that's hard to break. It's hard to break that when everyone in your family would disown you if you were to come out as an atheist. That's something I don't think any of us have had to deal with, and it's pretty rare in our culture, but I think in the Latino culture that's fairly common.
It must be comforting in a way to be an immigrant and come to a country, or come from a religious background and come to a country where you would assume you would find a supportive religious community, and you can. I mean, you certainly can in the Catholic Church. And I personally know many Latino immigrants who end up in Jehovah's Witnesses churches, even Mormon churches. They cling to religiosity, even while that same religiosity in America is being used to reject them. I'm dying to hear from some people about the torn feelings that must occur there.
Yeah, and to use that specifically in, it's Romans 13 is the passage that Jeff Sessions used, which is basically just obey the laws of the country you're in because God ordained the leaders of those countries, so the laws that they make must be just. So aren't we an illegitimate American government to begin with then, because they rebelled against the English?
The authority, yeah. I mean, you could go on and on.
Right.
It's ludicrous, but here we have Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, still the Attorney General, right?
For now, yeah. Jefferson Beauregard Sessions.
Is that his name?
Yes,
Jefferson Beauregard Sessions.
He definitely should be a plantation owner. If he's not, who knows?
But this is what we have, people, in America, and if we are not vigilant, they're going to take over because they're the ones running for office and making it. We don't have any mouthy atheists running for office, and we don't have any Latinos who are the Latinos that we have running.
Didn't that girl in New York just win?
Who?
Wasn't she an atheist?
Yeah, did someone win? Who is that?
Yeah, she was also Hispanic.
Oh, I didn't know that. Let's find her. Yeah, there's the future right there. Let's find her.
I just wanted to go back to the initial question about whether we'd ever have a Hispanic president. Honestly, I don't see why we couldn't, because if you think about it, what we were saying before with religion, most of the community does appear to be religious. However, that is just a stereotype. But I would say that we had a black president, and there was a lot of people upset that Barack Obama was black. I don't see why we couldn't have a Hispanic president. I think they'd fit right in with the way that religion kind of trumps the country, so to speak. I mean, there's religious sections and factors all over the United States. I don't see why a Hispanic president wouldn't make it into office.
I think it's inevitable just because of the population numbers sooner or later.
I think it would be great to see one come in right after Trump.
That's what I'm getting at. If we find the right person who's liberal in the right kind of ways, we'll get a president that'll make the folks who voted for Trump be really, really bummed out that they got so extreme on their side.
He'll keep asking for them to show their papers.
Yeah, it'll be, well, they weren't born in America. They were born in Guatemala.
Where's your birth certificate?
He doesn't care. I had no idea how old he really was, but now I'm just convinced he's laughing his way to the grave. Figuring, let's see all the crazy crap I can pull. It's not going to affect me. I'll be dead, and my kids will be taken care of, and I'll have had a lark. Does anyone really think he's got anything more of a long-term plan other than just protecting his interests?
Well, he's making a lot of money off
That's
of
what
the
I mean.
presidency.
It's all about, it's just a bit. It's a thing. It's a reality TV show.
Yeah,
let's see what crazy crap I can do.
Go on vacation to my own
Generate all this.
and charge the American people the bill for me to go on vacation.
Yeah. See what I can push across the desk. What kind of crazy executive orders I can manage to get away with. The fact that he had to back off the cages thing on the border was remarkable, because I guess when you look at it, it wasn't like it was his order.
Right. It sounds like it was something that was always the case, but with his administration, they took a zero tolerance. Every person that they catch at the border, they're going to prosecute instead of just sending them away.
Oh, I see. So,
that meant
they're not allowed
to take them away from their kids.
Use their judgment or...
Right. Well, you get a family come through, you just turn them around and send them back. but it sounds like that's not what they're doing anymore. It's, pull the kids away from the parents, send the parents to court, send the kids to a detention center.
Right, so it's just a scare tactic.
Yeah, I'm assuming they think that's, if you don't want your kids taken away and...
Right, you don't even try.
I believe we call that terrorism.
Yeah, or torture, cruel and unusual. Extorting people with their own kids. It's bizarre to think about.
Right.
The whole thing, I don't know. I just think he's digging himself a hole no matter what. No matter how well it's going, he's just offending people on too wide of a scale.
I hope you're right.
I could be wrong. Unless he really manages to force people not to be able to vote. That would be biblical, right? Go around and mark all the doors of the people who can't vote. Los Datos. The facts are we don't have enough atheists represented in government. We don't have enough Latinos represented in government, and we don't have enough Latino atheists anywhere. So get out and run for office. Don't let this happen to our formerly great nation. It's up to us. Do it. Start with a school board and move your way on up. Come out to your family.
Make America great again.
Do what you can. And now, AU's Weather Jesus. Amen. The Global Climate Report with a rapturous twist. Now here's Stormy Joe with a Weather Jesus update from Mexico City.
Thanks, Rob. I'm here in one of the most dangerous cities in the world, Mexico City, outside the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe. I paid a nice young gentleman named Pedro, who says he's from the Sinaloan region of Mexico, to be my bodyguard while in this city. He's fluent in English.
Make way for the gringa puto chilango.
Stormy, I'm a little worried you got yourself mixed up with the wrong crowd there.
You must be mistaken, Rob. Pedro is great. He's got an AK-47.
Don't worry. It's just for the rats. There goes one now.
He wants to give me a package to bring to his cousin in Phoenix on my flight back.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Oh, Rob, don't you say we atheists should be helpful to others to give ourselves a better reputation?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but you have to be safer inside the Catholic Church.
Fine. I'm here standing with Ramon Rodriguez.
Rodrigo Ramirez.
Ramon
Rodrigo
Rodriguez.
Ramirez.
Ramon Rodriguez.
Rodrigo Ramirez.
Who traveled all the way to this basilica from Sacramento. Ramon, why did you come all the way here just to visit a church? Aren't there plenty of Catholic churches in the U.S. to visit? Have there been rumors about whether Jesus has been seen here?
I make the trip every year to pray to the Virgin para que she's always answered my prayer.
The Virgin Mary? Not Jesus?
Mira, aquí es el padre, he's playing you. Oye, padre.
Sí, mijo.
Dile la historia de San Juan Diego y su pues, tú sabes, dile.
You see, my child. In 1531, La Virgen Santa, the Mother of God Himself, appeared to San Juan Diego, who told him to tell the bishop to build a shrine to her. The bishop did not believe him. No te creo. And asked him to bring proof. Maria appeared to San Juan Diego again, telling him to gather roses to bring to the bishop. When he opened his cloak in front of the bishop, the roses fell away. And the Virgin Maria was marked on his cloak. It was after this milagro that this church we are standing in was built, where the cloak is on display for all to see and pray to.
This report is called Weather Jesus, not Weather Mary. Aren't you supposed to pray to Jesus as a Catholic?
We pray to Maria because she's Jesus' mother, and everybody have to listen to his mother, even Jesus Christ.
Plus, chica nahat.
Cállate, cabrón.
All right, you just confused me even more.
Listen, my child, I will explain to you. Mira, why are you here, my son?
Pues tú pray to la Virgen para...
Why are you really here, my son? This is a holy place, my son. please don't lie. Why are you really here?
My mother made me talk down.
Haha, you see, my child? In Mexico, if you want somebody to do something, you tell his mother.
Can you just tell me whether Jesus has been spotted at this basilica? ¿Dónde está Jesús?
Aquí estoy. Yo soy Jesús.
Aquí. Jesús te habla.
¿Qué quiere?
Ay, Dios mío. Not Jesus, not Jesús. Jesucristo. 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 Jesucristo, el hijo de su Virgen María. Have any of you heard whether the son of the Virgin Mary has been seen here?
Pobre hija. Eso es religión. Eso no es realidad.
He said this religion, this no reality.
Yeah, I heard what he said.
And if Jesus was gonna come back, why would he come back to somebody else's shrine? Right, Padre?
Sí.
Well, you got me there, Plato.
Pinche gringa que no entiende nada.
Well, this trip was certainly a waste of time. No sign of Jesus here, and the weather, well, the weather here seemed to be pretty much just air pollution. Let's get a margarita, Pedro.
Sí, señorita Stormijo. Muévense.
Stormy.
Pinches mugrosos todos.
No packages. And don't drink the water. We are happy to have David Tamayo with us today on the podcast. He is the leader and founder of HAFREE, that's Hispanic American Free Thinkers. This is the oldest, largest. Go ahead and brag on the organization.
We're actually the only 501c3 organization, Hispanic organization in the U.S. That's good. Something that we're very proud of. And we want to encourage other organizations to form, local organizations. We're not really interested in being the largest or being, in charge of everything. No, we want to encourage people to form their own unique organizations focused on the local communities.
Is there? Is it where are there little groups popping up?
We had in Chicago. You have a group of Latino atheists over there, Chicago atheists. There's a group in Orlando. Actually, there was one group in Orlando of Hispanic atheists, and they separated into two groups. One wanted to do more charity work and that kind of stuff. The other one wanted to do more social stuff, more parties and people where people can come in and have a good time. There's also the San Diego Hispanic atheists, they're Latino atheists. There was a group that was being formed in New Jersey also. So there are a bunch of little groups, mostly in the form of meetup groups.
Sure.
That get together very sort of informally, but still it's a good way to get people to feel they have a place to go and talk about anything and not feel they're being judged or that they have to watch what they say.
Now, the theme of the show is Latin American atheism, and I was taken to task when I put out a message or a Facebook post that implied that there were a lack of Latin American atheists out there, and a few people piped in and said, no, we're here. There's actually a growing population of atheists all across South America, Central America, and we're here, so don't misspeak. And it occurred to me that there probably are, in a general sense, about as many atheists in the Latin American community as there are percentage-wise across the world population. That would make sense. Why don't we see more of them in leadership positions? Why aren't there more vocal Latin American atheists? I guess that's the question. Why aren't there more visible Latin American leaders who are atheists?
And you made the exact point, that is, they're there, but a lot of them are hidden. They don't want to come out. They don't want to get stigmatized by being an atheist. Religion has done a great job over the years, all religions, in stigmatizing, not believing. Fortunately, in Latin America, there's been a big change. And in fact, some months ago, for the first time, there was a Latin American Free Thought conference in there, where many leaders from different parts of Latin America, including Dan Barker from Freedom from Religion Foundation, he was one of the main events speakers there. But as always, there was a problem with funding and people having issues getting there. Now, the United States plays a big role because there are more Spanish speakers in the U.S. than any other country in Latin America. The only other country that has more Spanish speakers than the U.S. is Mexico.
Wow.
But even here within the United States, it's very, very difficult to find Hispanic leaders that are atheists or humanists or, however they want to call themselves, free thinkers, whatever. And in fact, right now we have 2 openings in the board of directors of Hispanic American Freethinkers that we have a hard time filling out because, we want to get Hispanics, we want to get women especially, and it's very, very difficult to find especially women that are willing to come out. So part of what we're trying to do in Hispanic American Freethinkers now is trying to develop young girls, trying to develop them to become leaders in the secular movement, because we know that in the typical Latino family, the woman has a big role to play in there. The way the woman goes is usually the way the family goes. So if the woman changes religion, that's where the family typically goes.
Everybody
exactly,
follows.
and so that's what we want. We want to see more, get education. What the best way to secularize Hispanics and anyone really. The more educated people get, the less religious they become. And so we want to, that's one of the goals that we have in HAFREE, is trying to get people more educated.
Ladies and gentlemen, Carolina Pena!
I wanted to mention you were on the board of directors of the last Reason Rally in 2016. And in a way, we both worked on the music for that event. I negotiated the contract that brought members of the Wu-Tang Clan, remarkably, to the event. And you were instrumental in bringing Carolina Pena, the young Ecuadorian girl who was abused famously on Ecuador's Got Talent, to come and perform with Penn Jillette. Carolina Pena brings to mind the entire new generation. Are younger people playing a larger role in changing the way atheism is perceived in Latin America?
Absolutely. And now we can't really just look at the young people, because a lot of the problem the young people have are lack of role models. So having role models is important. In fact, next week here in Washington, we are giving the first Hispanic American Freethinkers Lifetime Achievement Award to Professor of Religion, Dr. Hector Avalos. He is a Professor of Religious Studies at Iowa State University. He wrote a book about religion in Spanish. Se puede saber si Dios existe. Can it be known if God exists?
Right.
He wrote that and was fighting intelligent design at Iowa State University.
Wow.
Way before the new atheists were out, before Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and Daniel Dennett and all those guys had their books out.
Right.
He already had a book in Spanish. He's been in charge, he's been a professor at Iowa State University, and he's been fighting intelligent design when there were intelligent design was starting to creep into the university.
Unbelievable.
So he's a great example of a Hispanic that's been in the background doing a lot of great work. We just want normality for it to be normal. That if you say, "Yep, I'm an atheist, I'm an agnostic, I'm Mormon, I'm whatever," that no one's going to look at you funny.
Well, and that's what we're all after.
And sometimes we feel like we're losing that battle,
Yeah.
Because you look at what goes on in government, and the religion just never gives up. It just never gives up. It always wants to expand and gain power, and even at knowing that if one particular religion takes over, then all the others will die. A lot of the others don't seem to understand that and don't fight for the separation of government and religion. The other thing that we fight is not just the atheism part, which is of course important, but also once you believe in, imaginary BS, now you can be convinced to believe a lot of other BS.
Right.
And so in the Hispanic communities, you see large amounts of palm readers, and you see this botanicas, where they sell you saints and powders and holy water and all these other BS. So one of the things we try to do is educate people on what is, on the simple question of what is real and what is imaginary, and how do we know?
And it really comes down to education, doesn't it?
Yep. Because it's all about critical thinking. If something is real and true, there is nothing. And I tell people all the time, the difference between dogma and knowledge is that when you're in school, the teacher will teach a class and then ask you many times, does anyone have any questions? Please ask anybody any questions. But when you're in a church and a preacher gives you a sermon, he never says, are there any questions? Because he's not interested in knowing if there are any questions.
He's hoping no one has questions, right?
Exactly.
That's the questions
Accept
are
what I say.
the end of religion.
Everything, every goddamn thing is enough. Carolina Pena!
What is your take on the immigration situation?
The worst jobs, taking out the guts of chickens, or the backbreaking work that is being done in California, picking fruit and in the fields. This country has always benefited by looking the other way from undocumented immigration. Historically, we have seen in other countries, when there are problems or you want to blame, you start blaming the immigrants, the people that can't vote, the people that don't have rights. Those are the people that you blame for the country's problems, whether those problems are real or imagined. Now, in the United States, we're an all-time low unemployment, and there are people that can't, they can't find employees. But there is now a movement to say, hey, let's blame everything on the immigrants. And now, when it comes to the separation of children and parents, that's just inhumane and atrocious. It's just atrocious.
Kids today, they're looking to celebrities, they're looking to stars, they're looking to artists, musicians, singers, and athletes. Do you have a list? Are there people that that we can kind of bug? And athletes, I know there's been a few black athletes who have come out very boldly and broken the mold. Is there anybody that's on that list that we can kind of?
No, in the Hispanic community, there are a few that you suspect, and they mention that they are in private, but in public they will never admit it because money is first.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to lose money. They don't want to create a debate. They don't want to be
records
in
burning.
the middle of in controversy, and they know that people see religion as part of the culture, and so anything that an attack on religion will be seen by a lot of people as an attack on culture. And not that we shouldn't attack culture. I think culture is a fine thing to attack when culture has something wrong. I mean, after all, culture is man-made, and so it's not part of our genetic material. The culture is invented by humans, and it changes and evolves like anything. But it's really hard, and that's why I said it's important to have outspoken professionals and outspoken people that can serve as role models. Both in the career part, just to show people, because when you look at least for the Hispanics, there's an extreme underrepresentation of Hispanics at the C-suite level, CEOs, CFOs, etc., and an overrepresentation when it comes to gardening, when it comes to mowing lawns and cleaning toilets and that kind of stuff.
Dishwashers, yeah.
Now, we are 18% of the U.S. population. Wouldn't it be nice to have 18% at the C-suite level? being 18% being in charge of large corporations and et cetera. And we don't see any of that. Now, part of it is we are to blame to a certain degree because, people have to be ambitious and go for those things. But part of it is also that it's very difficult because at those levels, you start facing a kind of discrimination that is very, very subtle.
Yeah, insidious.
And you have it. I mean, women encounter it, the glass ceiling that they refer to. Same thing is a glass ceiling for Hispanics. And if you're a Hispanic woman, then you're double screwed. If we are 18% of the population and about half of them are women, then that we're talking about 9%. But I've been in conferences with 1,000 people where there may be another Hispanic and myself in 1,000 of CIOs.
Wow.
In corporate America. So that's. It's sad and it's something I want to change, but because I know by changing that, just by changing getting those opportunities and getting people to be at those positions, it requires education, which means they become more secular.
Tell us about your journey to atheism.
It's nothing exciting. I was, the book A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Sure. I read it once and then I started reading it a second time, and it mentioned about these planets and these things that are so far away that the light is just arriving now billions of years later. I'm thinking, holy crap, that's a lot of distance. And then it says, and those places don't exist anymore. I'm thinking, well, God created everything for human. That's what the church taught. And he couldn't have created those planets for us because obviously we can just barely see them now. And now they're disappearing because, they no longer exist. And I thought, okay, well, the church is wrong on that. And then I decided to look at other things in the church, and then the next thing was the church claiming that the wine it turns into blood, and I started thinking, okay, that's just a metaphor. But then when I started actually reading about it, found out that the church says no, it's literal. And I'm like, right. BS. I've had it all the time, and no, it's a very insipid cracker, and and the wine is pretty good, but it's wine.
It's wine.
I'm willing to do a beautiful experiment, but I know it can't be done. Is change the wine for actual blood and see how many people spit it out.
Everyone?
Everyone will spit it out.
A vampire in the back going yum.
Exactly, including the priest.
How those other religions seem then.
Well, it turns out the rest look crazier because, I didn't grow up with their crazy nonsense. And then rapidly, within about 3 months, came to the conclusion that no one actually knew. And everyone was just BSing so they can make some money. But no one knew. Everyone claimed they knew, but no one knew. And then I became sort of agnostic. And then I went one step further. Well, how do I know there's not two gods? Maybe there are 3 or 4 or 5 gods. I mean, how do we know? There's no way to know. And so therefore, why don't we, take a step back, and we should only believe in those things for which there is evidence, because the number of things that don't exist is infinite, while the number of things that exist is more finite. And so therefore, it makes sense to ask for evidence for the existence of something. And if no evidence is presented, then we might as well assume and treat it as if it doesn't exist, as if it's someone's imagination, because no evidence means it's probably not real. Or if it is real in another dimension or in another, whatever you want to call it, then it's the same as if it didn't exist, and we can treat it as such, because if it's not interacting. So the supernatural doesn't interact with the natural, then fine. If it exists and doesn't interact, we can treat it exactly as if it doesn't exist. I mean, I lost my faith not because I had a fight with God or because I had a good experience in church. I never had a bad experience. Church was never bad to me, but I care more about the truth. And the truth is that what they teach is false. And so it became as simple as, accepting that, and it wasn't easy, but that's all I care about. I care about the truth more than I care about feeling good. You hear a lot of this, my truth and your truth, and I call that bullshit, because no, there's one reality, and which is what, truth is asymptotically approaching that reality. And the more information we have and the more evidence we have, then the more accurate our truth is. But I see as an ultimate truth existing, which is reality.
tell me when you think we'll have a Hispanic president.
It's I think it's going to be a long. I don't know. If, I'm about to turn 55, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see it in my lifetime. Yeah, that's a great question. You know, when we look at the representation that we have in Congress, that we have at the mayor's levels or governor's levels and things like that. Just to compare, you know, Hispanics are 18% of the population, African Americans are 13%, and African Americans have, you know, far greater representation. They're better organized. Part of the problem that we have is within the same Hispanic community where we discriminate against ourselves fairly often. When two Hispanics get together, the first thing they ask is, hey, so where are you from? Oh, I'm from Argentina, and I'm from El Salvador. Immediately, you have a caste system.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will say, yes, I'm very proud to be from, be Nicaraguan. And I immediately jump on them and say, why? You had no choice on it. So if you're proud of it, then somebody can judge you for being from there. No, you should be you should be proud for those things that you've done, those things that you've accomplished, and you should be calling yourself an American. You live here now. This is your home. If you start thinking of this as your home, then you will care when people throw trash in the ground. You will care when people are destroying and defacing buildings or anything like that. And you can jump in and say, no, this is my home. You're going to respect and you're going to treat it well. And start seeing yourself as being part of this community, because part of what a lot of Hispanics, they see themselves as us and them, the Americans and us, the Hispanics. And so they don't make the effort to get involved. They don't make the effort to, and fairly often when they do, they sometimes they don't. I mean, I'm ashamed to say this, but 30% of Hispanics voted for the current administration, which was very vocal against Hispanics. There are people that within the Hispanic community, there's not one single community, it's several communities. There's a lot of, fractions in there. And there's also sometimes a way where, oh, well, that's a Latino. I'm sure they're doing this for, bad reasons or whatever, and not support someone, or in fact go against someone just because they're Hispanic. Once we start seeing ourselves as Americans, as, this is our nation, this is our country, a lot of people don't realize that when the United States became, in 1776, when the United States became a country, more than half of what today is the continental United States was Hispanic. Mm-hmm. Hispanics have been in the United States since the 1500s.
Yep.
As long as they don't feel that this is part of their country, they're going to be abused. There's going to be a lot of discrimination. And because we all, Hispanics come in a lot of flavors, a lot of colors and races and everything, a lot of the whites, a lot of the white Hispanics, they become mainstream and they forget where they came from. And they don't go and serve as role models, like I mentioned before. I know a few that are, corporate leaders, and they're not, I can't convince them to go to a high school and tell people in the high school, hey, you can do it too. You got to study, you got to do this and that. And so what happens, you end up with a cycle of poverty, which makes them perfect targets for religion.
Hablamos con David Tamayo, el gran colombiano. Danos una frase, una oración en español explicando la HAFREE y en dónde se puede encontrar la gente.
Los librepensadores de HAFREE estamos localizados. La sede principal está en Washington, D.C., pero tenemos grupos y gentes y miembros en todas partes del país. De modo que nos pueden encontrar en Facebook, obviamente, y también bajo www.hafree.org.
Ahí está.
Next time you're in the D.C. area, man, give me a shout out. The first 3 drinks are on me.
That sounds great.
Here now with secular news and events
and commentary
is Jojo Vandescoop.
The American Humanist Association has won their case against the Douglas County, Colorado School District for promoting Christianity and raising money for a missionary trip. Judge R. Brooke Jackson ruled the school violated the Establishment Clause of the U.S. Constitution. The lawsuit was first filed against the district in October of 2014, but the first judge who heard it said that AHA did not have proper legal standing to bring the case. The American Humanist Association appealed, and the appellate court said they did have legal standing, and the case was returned to the lower district court for a ruling. In the 17-page decision, the judge ordered the parties' attorneys to meet to reach an agreement on the judgment, costs, and attorneys' fees.
You know what that sounds like? It sounds like a Christian judge.
That
the first
legal
guy.
standing argument always comes up. It's always like, how does this affect you? And you always have to try to find a kid in that environment that is an atheist that's willing to come forward and then be, a pariah from then on because they didn't get to go to their trip because of this one kid. And it's rough to try to find someone who's willing to do that. But that's the way our legal system works.
Starter's Cafe in Cheviot, Ohio, recently discontinued a 10% discount for churchgoers of any faith on Sundays after receiving negative feedback. Cafe owner Justin Watson posted the 10% discount promotion on his personal Facebook page. The Freedom from Religion Foundation sent a letter to the owner, and the business also received a negative review on Yelp. Watson apologized online after removing the ad and has since issued an all-inclusive 10% discount for Sunday brunch services.
Wow, 2 stories in a row that are in the atheists' favor. I wonder what's up with the news.
Yeah, I think you should get a 10% discount for having to live in Cheviot, Ohio.
I think you should get a 10% discount for pronouncing it right.
We are probably pronouncing it wrong, I bet. Probably.
It's Cheviot. In Cheviot, Ohio, a dude had to give back the money, the discounts, because people rightly crapped on him. So that's 2 positives in a row. We don't usually get that on the news. It's usually all shit.
How do you prove that you were in church?
Well, anyway? I figure, that he's got to take their word for it. They wouldn't lie. They're churchgoers.
What if you go to, what if you're Jewish? They have temple on Saturday. Does that still work?
And what if I just say, I don't have any moral compunction against telling him I'm a churchgoer? Where do you stand on that? Does that make me a bad person, or would you?
You have to have fresh rattlesnake bites to prove that you were at your snake handler church.
In international news, a Greek archbishop is blaming the atheist prime minister of Greece for the deadly wildfires which ravaged the country in late July. Bishop Ambrosios of Kalaverita in the Peloponnese region wrote in his blog, quote, "Atheist Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras draws the wrath of God," unquote. He has drawn criticism on social media as well as from other Greek Orthodox officials. The wildfires in Greece have claimed the lives of at least 74.
God is mad that Greek has a atheist prime minister, so he kills 75 probably religious people. That makes total sense, right?
Well, for that God that does those things, it kind of does. I mean, that's what he does, right?
Why has he been so mad about their economy for the last 40 years?
He's mad about everything in Greece, right? The state of the government, the country that invented democracy, has been in shambles since. I wonder, did the guy respond? Did he have anything to say back to him? That's what I want to know.
I wouldn't, personally. I mean, it's like, well, yeah, it's the wrath of God, but we still need dry conditions with no rain for, a couple weeks first before we get the wrath of God.
Well, it says people bitched at him. So again, this is another, I give it 3 out of 3. Positive for the atheist community on this month's news story. What do you think?
Sure.
In conference news, Mythicist Milwaukee will be hosting their 5th MythCon on Saturday, September 22nd, at the historic Pabst Theater in Milwaukee. Featured speakers include Dr. Peter Boghossian from Portland State University, Angel Bonilla, a Los Angeles-based singer and transgender activist, and YouTube star Sargon of Akkad. More information about the event and how to register can be found at www.mythicistmilwaukee.com/MythCon.
Are you going
to FifthCon?
Yeah, can you grow a beard that fast?
To Sargon Con? Dipping right back into the well pretty fast, aren't they? With going back to that.
Well, they've got they've got both Sargon and Armored Skeptic making a reappearance.
More than that, I think. Wasn't Allie Jackson coming back? Carrier, Little Dick Carrier's is coming back for his 20th visit to his fawning audience up there. But yeah, I don't know. It should only be MythCon 4 for one thing. We know that the forcing 2 into the first year was a ridiculous move that resulted expectedly in lower attendance at MythCon 2 than MythCon 1. But I guess we see they threw their eggs in that basket, and I think they're trying hard by having a transgender, SJ-dub of their own on the same bill.
Oh, yeah, they have a very diverse lineup. Peter Boghossian, Sargon, Armored Skeptic. These are all people that believe the same exact thing.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not really a diversity of opinion.
But they have the transgender guy.
Yeah, who no one knows because they can't get anyone of any consequence on the other side because everyone knows where they stand because they made that abundantly clear last year. That's why most of their members left.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. You asked if I'm going?
I don't believe you're allowed, actually.
Of course I'm not allowed. But that doesn't mean I can't put on a disguise and sneak past the massive security that they have to have.
Yeah.
This is the dangerous Sargon invasion.
Yeah, I don't have a MAGA hat or a QAnon shirt, so I don't think I would fit in.
You guys can go, though.
Yeah, no thanks.
You wouldn't be removed.
Well, I don't know. After this podcast, probably. They like a diversity of opinion, just not within their own ranks.
And they like advertising, but not from those with diverse opinions.
Well, they like money, but they don't like Rob.
Well, their conference is coming up. We try to do a conference every podcast, and now that we're getting them out faster, we can try to find one every month. But the fact is that they're not. The little ones are failing, right? It's harder to find one every month than it used to be.
Yeah, plus it's fun to discuss our former colleagues.
Well, but I don't mind. That's if people want to go to that, yay. And then maybe they're going to constantly have a little income stream with that path, and more power to them if that's the way it's going to work. It'll be interesting to see, where it really goes down the road. But yeah, probably not going to be in attendance myself.
Yeah, no, I did not vote for Trump, so not my type of conference.
Yeah, we're not supporters of rape comments.
Oh, but it's just a joke.
And we're all right with the SJ-dubs. We need you all. Come on aboard.
I would consider myself, even though I'm not a very active person, so it's kind of hard to really take on that warrior label. But I definitely am for social justice.
Well, I'm tired of having my social justice rights trampled upon as a short bald man. Short bald men, we've been getting overlooked.
Well, it's just so easy.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. It's it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Ducks on a pond. It's too easy. And for too long we've been our rights as height challenged citizens and follically challenged citizens will no longer be discounted and trampled upon by the tall hirsute. So here we are. Maybe we'll throw our own conference and demand that Sargon shave and be shorter.
He seems pretty short.
Yeah, his content speaks to someone who might be compensating. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't listen to the fucking guy. He could be Sargon from Mars for all you know.
I tried.
Did you try?
When the lead up to the last one, which I ended up not going to because of everything that happened, I tried to just see what they were talking about when they were just fawning over him, and I'm sorry. It was very much like, yeah, Nazis were bad, but come on, it's the communists that were the real bad guys. It was like, I watched like 3 videos like that. I can't, who can stand that shit?
Well, that's basically what Dillahunty said, right? He's like, I watched enough to know, and I talked to the guy enough to know that he's just a circle-talking bonehead, really.
Yeah, makes a lot of money online. That's the only thing that really attracts Mythicist Milwaukee, is he comes with a fan base that's willing to shell out some cash.
Gracias a todos. Muchas gracias. That's it for Los Datos. I hope you learned some Spanish. And if you did, consider going to patreon.com and pledging $1. Remember to check out the YouTube channel and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Doubtington will be next. Hasta luego.
Next stop, Doubtington. Doubtington is next.